Overthinking feels like intelligence in motion. It feels careful, responsible, even mature. But the strange part is this: the longer your mind keeps spinning, the less grounded you feel. What begins as protection slowly becomes paralysis, and somewhere along the way, thinking stops helping and starts feeding the very fear it was trying to solve. So if we want to understand why this loop is so hard to escape, we first have to ask what the mind is actually trying to protect. Overthinking rarely shows up like a dramatic breakdown. Most of the time, it enters quietly, almost politely. It begins with a harmless sentence. Let me think about that a little more. Nothing alarming there. In fact, it can sound wise, like self-control, like the behavior of someone sensible enough not to act too quickly. But then a few extra minutes become an hour. An hour becomes an evening. And before long, thinking is no longer something you use. It becomes the place you keep getting stuck inside. Sometimes it starts with a message. You type it, delete it, type it again. Read it back, set the phone down, pick it up, change one word, then another. Is this too distant, too eager, too cold, too much? If I reply too fast, do I seem too available? If I reply too late, do I seem annoyed? And just like that, one tiny moment opens into an entire building of imagined consequences. Every room lit up, every room noisy, every room insisting it matters, and not one of them able to give you peace. Other times, it starts after the moment is already over. A conversation ends, but your mind refuses to let it end with it. Someone paused for half a second. Their expression shifted, their tone felt slightly different. Maybe they looked away. Maybe they answered more briefly than usual. None of it is clear enough to prove anything, and yet your mind takes that fragment and places it under a harsh internal spotlight. What did I do wrong? Did I sound strange? Were they disappointed? Did I miss something obvious? Was there a moment I should have handled differently? That is part of what makes overthinking so exhausting. It does not give you one clear interpretation. It gives you several unfinished versions of the same event, each one believable enough to worry you, none of them solid enough to settle you. And the mind, in its desperate attempt to keep you safe, makes you sit through every possible scenario as if missing one hidden danger could bring the whole structure of your life crashing down. So an ordinary day starts to feel strangely heavy. You open your laptop, but your attention keeps drifting sideways. You sit in a meeting, yet part of you is still replaying something from last night. You walk through the city, answer people, finish tasks, smile when needed, and look more or less functional from the outside. But inside, too many tabs are open, too many simulations are running, too much energy is being spent on things that are no longer happening or have not happened at all. For some people, overthinking shows up most sharply around decisions, not just the big ones, even painfully small ones, whether to send the email now or later, whether to say yes, whether to leave, whether to bring something up, whether to choose one path and risk regretting the other. It is not always a lack of intelligence that creates the hesitation. Often it is the opposite. You can see too many layers, too many outcomes, too many possible losses, so it no longer feels like you're choosing between two options. It feels like you're choosing between entire futures, and somehow you are expected to predict which version of reality will hurt the least. For others, overthinking shows up after everything is technically over. The moment has passed, but the mind keeps reopening it like a file that will not close. You rewrite your lines in your head. You invent better responses. You try to identify the exact second the mood changed. You replay facial expressions, pauses, words, silences, tiny shifts in tone. It can look like reflection. It can even feel like analysis, but many times it is simply self-punishment dressed up as thoughtfulness, and then the body joins in. Your shoulders tighten, your jaw holds more tension than it needs to, your breathing becomes shallow without you even noticing. Your eyes are tired, but your system will not settle. You lie down at night and the body wants sleep. Yet the mind is still working, reviewing, scanning, rehearsing, forecasting. What drains you in those moments is not only life itself, it is the endless internal rehearsal of life. A lot of people blame themselves for this. They call themselves weak, dramatic, difficult, too sensitive. They wonder why such small things stay lodged inside them while other people seem to move on so easily. But overthinking does not usually come from stupidity or fragility. More often, it grows from a mind that has learned to become overly vigilant. A mind that believes if it thinks deeply enough, long enough, carefully enough, it might prevent pain, it might avoid embarrassment, it might stop rejection before rejection ever happens, it might make sure you never again walk blindly into regret. The problem is that the brain is not especially graceful when it comes to uncertainty. It often treats uncertainty like danger's quieter cousin. Not knowing what someone means, not knowing whether you made the right choice, not knowing what tomorrow will bring, not knowing whether you were enough. None of those things are tigers. None of them are cliffs. None of them are fire. And yet, the nervous system can react as if something urgent must be solved immediately, as if the mere presence of ambiguity is a threat that cannot be left alone. And repetitive thinking creates a very convincing illusion. It makes you feel as though you are moving closer to clarity, as if just a little more analysis will finally bring relief. One more pass through the conversation, one more hypothetical outcome, one more internal debate, and maybe then you will know what to do. But that is the trick. The control overthinking offers never lasts. It is like drinking salt water when you are thirsty. The more certainty you try to squeeze out of thought alone, the more desperate for certainty you become. At some point, if you look closely enough, a difficult truth starts to emerge. A lot of the time, you are not actually searching for an answer. You are trying to buy a feeling of certainty. You want reassurance before action. You want guarantees before movement. You want the future to explain itself before you agree to live through it. And life, awkward thing that it is, does not work that way. It rarely hands over full clarity in advance. More often, it asks you to walk part of the road while the fog is still there. Overthinking also tends to link arms with perfectionism. Because if you believe you have to say the right thing, choose the right path, react the right way, make the right impression, then of course your mind will not loosen its grip. Every decision starts to feel like a test. Every mistake feels like evidence. Every glance from another person becomes a possible verdict, and life stops feeling like something you are living. It starts to feel like something you are constantly being evaluated against. This is where the loop becomes even more expensive. It does not just make you think more, it makes you hesitate more, delay more, withdraw more. You wait to send, you wait to reply, you wait to decide, you wait until you feel completely ready. But complete readiness is mostly a fantasy, which means life begins to hang in suspension. And every time avoidance gives you temporary relief, the mind learns the wrong lesson. It decides the threat must have been real. It decides hesitation kept you safe. So the loop gets stronger, disguised as caution. So where does the way out begin? Not by forcing the mind to shut up. That usually backfires. The more aggressively you tell yourself not to think, the louder the machinery gets. The exit is often smaller and less dramatic than people expect. It begins with noticing the loop while it is happening. Something like, there it is again. I have left the present and entered simulation. That moment matters, because once you can see the pattern, you are no longer completely fused with it. Then comes a useful question. What is the actual problem here? Just one, not 12 possible interpretations, not an entire courtroom in your head. What is the real issue in front of me right now? Is there one concrete action I need to take? If yes, take it. If not, is this extra thinking truly helping, or is it only extending the feeling of being trapped? Many people are surprised to find that stepping out of overthinking often begins not with a better thought, but with the body. Feet on the floor, hands against a desk, a slower breath, a short walk, cold water on your face, the sound of something real in the room, the shape of an ordinary object described exactly as it is, not as your fear interprets it. These are small things, humble things, but they send an important message back through the system. You are here now, not inside every imagined future your mind is trying to run all at once. Another helpful shift is to give thought a boundary instead of letting it take over the entire house. Write it down, not beautifully, not intelligently, just clearly enough to see it. Inside the mind, fear can expand forever. On paper, it starts to show its edges. Some of it is a question, some of it is grief, some of it is a demand for control, some of it is a problem you can actually act on, some of it is simply uncertainty wearing heavy makeup. And once those things stop blending together, the knot often begins to loosen. Then comes the hardest part, and maybe the most honest one, learning to tolerate a survivable amount of uncertainty. Nobody enjoys this. The mind certainly does not. It wants closure. It wants the final answer before the first step. It wants every door locked before sleep. But maturity in one quiet form is the ability to accept that some doors cannot be locked in advance with thought. What you can build instead is a steadier way of meeting whatever arrives. That might look like sending the message without knowing exactly how it will land, making a decision without a perfect guarantee, walking into a difficult conversation without scripting every line, beginning something important while still feeling unready. Not because fear has disappeared, but because fear is no longer being allowed to hold the wheel. There will still be days when the old pattern returns, days when the replay starts again, days when your mind circles a moment until it feels worn thin. That does not mean you have failed. It means this is a practice, not a switch. The mind learned this pattern through repetition. It will take repetition to learn another way of relating to uncertainty, and it is worth saying plainly that if this pattern has become severe enough to erode your sleep, your work, your relationships, or your basic ability to function and rest, seeking support from a professional or from someone trustworthy is not an overreaction. It is a deeply sensible act of care. Not because you are broken, but because some mazes are less punishing when you do not have to walk through them alone. In the end, the gentlest form of relief may not be that your mind stops producing frightening scenarios altogether. The gentlest relief may be that you learn not to believe every scenario the moment it appears. You learn that not every thought is guidance, not every fear is prophecy, not every unanswered question has to be solved tonight. Some answers only arrive after you stop trying to force them into existence. Some decisions become clearer after you accept that you will never have every piece of information. Some relationships become more real when you stop trying to decode every hidden layer. And some of the deepest peace begins in very small places, not editing the message for the 11th time, letting a question stay unanswered for a while, taking one step forward without demanding perfect certainty from yourself first. Because freedom is not a life where you never overthink again. Freedom is a life where those thoughts no longer get to decide how you live.